Good evening, guys. Welcome back to my channel. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for liking and subscribing and following my channel on this journey. And of course, we are back today. We are discussing the actual rugby team selections for the Springboks versus England in that semi-final of the beautiful 2023 World Cup. And of course, a little bit of history here, guys. The last time England beat South Africa in any type of World Cup format is in 2003, of course, in that pool games. And from then, South Africa facing them in the pool game in 2007, of course, beating them pretty well. I think it was like something like 36-0. And then, of course, in that final where South Africa was glorious, of course, winning that game by just that little bit of much. Of course, England coming back through that World Cup. And then, of course, in the 2019 World Cup, England heavily favourites, a little bit turned around this time round. Of course, a little bit more in the favour of the Springboks at the moment. Yeah, so this is really going to be retribution for the British against the Springboks. And of course, a lot of those guys was actually in the team in 2019. So a lot of them, I'm pretty sure, has got a little bit of revenge on the mind. But yeah, unfortunately, the guys are not maybe in the biggest form of their lives or best form of their lives. So maybe this time around they're going to be falling short as well. But let's have a look at the team selections. Of course, we've got Joe Marler, Jamie George and Dan Cole starting that front row, Moro Itoje and George Martin in that lock combination. Courtney Laws, Tom Curry and Ben Earl, of course, the back trio. Now, just on that back row, just much sense worth. I think Courtney Laws is actually playing some good game. Unfortunately, I don't think he's really establishing himself as what he should be in that front row or in the forwards. But really still pretty good game based on what we've seen in the other games that he's played during this World Cup. I think it's about 5 games they've played now. And of course, Tom Curry, always a good player, right? So, but the real difference, of course, in that specific team is really in that number 15 jersey for that Marcus Smith. That's obviously getting replaced by Freddie Stewart. Now, for me, that says these guys are going to try and be great under the high ball because, of course, a lot of bigger player. Marcus Smith, of course, being out with injury. But, yeah, I think they're really going to be chasing that high ball on the kick return, probably based on this type of selection that they've made. They'll probably be playing a kicking game quite deep into South Africa's half. But from South Africa's side, I think they got some fetches themselves as well. So, you know, it's going to be a bit of a risk factor there involved. But we're going to go through the Springboks team a little bit later. Of course, we've got Alex Mitchell in the number 9 jersey and Owen Farrell, the captain, in number 10. Personally, I think George Ford would have been better in 10 for me so far. I really liked his type of gameplay more than Owen Farrell, but I've got a bit of a biased opinion about Owen Farrell, so I can't really get too much involved there. Of course, Elliot Daly in that number 11 jersey, Manu Tuolagi in number 12, Joe Marchant in number 13, Johnny May in 14, and as I mentioned earlier, Freddie Stewart in that number 15 jersey. Now, I do imagine that the guys that they selected on the actual on the bench is really to combat a specific type of play. Of course, South Africa is generally known for their 6-2 split, but they went with the 5-3 this time. Actually, the Springboks went with an unchanged team versus their last week type of selections. So, yeah, I do believe that these guys are going to try and put something a little bit back on that forwards. Of course, we saw in 2019 that unfortunately with that 6-2 split that South Africa had, the British or the English really struggled with that forwards pack. So yeah, we'll see how they go about it this time around, if they learn from their mistakes. I see they're starting Dan Cole again. So, last time, of course, it was due to an injury that he had to come on. But yeah, he really struggled against his opposite number. Then we got Theo Dan, Alice Genji, Kyle Sinclair, of course, on the bench as well in the number 18 jersey, Ollie Chesham, Billy Vanapola, Danny Kerr, I think it is, George Ford and Ollie Lawrence. So, yeah, that is your British team selection for this. But I do believe that unfortunately, they're going to be falling short. This is just my prediction. Of course, my predictions was wrong last week. 50% of the time. So I mean, take that and make with it what you will in terms of my prediction. But I do believe that the South African pack and even the back line, they're just in better form at the moment. And of course, they're pretty strong, really. They also had a better preparation, playing some of the top teams, of course, in teams like Ireland, teams like, of course, France last week, and of course Scotland as well, which was ranked at that stage number 5. So really, I think they got the better preparation versus the ones that England's got. So really, I think they're going to be up there with their backs up against it. So we'll see how that goes. But yes, number 1, Steven Kitshoff. Number 2, Bongi Mbambi. And number 3, Frans Malherbe. So, of course, we've known that these guys really, they tried and tested. Bongi Mbambi, of course, having that man of the match type of performance last week. I think he had like 73 minutes, if I recall. Steven Kitshoff, uncharacteristically, have actually been making a little bit of mistakes in that, coming in from the side and stuff like that, so which is quite weird. I hope he can keep himself on the right side of things and not give away so many penalties this game around. Frans Malherbe, of course, man, that guy, the more I look at him, the more I don't think he should be as fit as he is. You know, I mean, Steven Kitshoff went and then Frans Malherbe just stayed on. And I was like, is this guy ever going to be coming off? Like, really? So, but anyways, yeah, it's very fit, very good player. Of course, Eben Etzebeth, Frankie Mostert in that number 4-5 lock combination. Of course, Eben Etzebeth has shown once again, you know, he really is a player of top caliber. Probably going to be the best Springbok in the history of the Springboks when he one day retires. So you'll probably remember it as that. And then, of course, Frankie Mostert also, he always brings everything to the table. He really is that hard worker around the fringes. He's just all over the place all the time. So very good for him to be there. Siya Kolisi, Pieter-Steph du Toit, and Dwayne Vermeulen, of course, that same trio at the back, which I still believe is one of the best back rowers teams in World Rugby. And then, of course, your Kobus Reinach Mani Lubbock combination. So, of course, a lot of people were unhappy that Mani Lubbock is starting again on that number 10 jersey. And, of course, Kobus Reinach, you really can't complain about him, man. He really knows how to defend. He actually did some things last week, which I didn't even know was allowed or possible. You know, when he went back to really go defend on our try line with that ball, and he was like ducking with that ball all over the place, and I was like, oh yeah, he's just trying to place it right. that was just fantastic to see. But anyways, so yeah, Kobus Reinach, great player. Mani Lubbock, I still think he really brings something to the back line. So I really enjoy the way he plays, and he didn't have too bad a kicking day. So yeah, good to have him there. Of course, Cheslin Colby hailed the international hero of epic proportions after that charge down, and the way he played, really fantastic game. Damien Delende, man, really, he's growing back on me, to be honest. He really played a good game last week. And of course, Jesse Kriel. Now, I was very critical of Jesse Kriel all my life, right? Well, for many years. And I always believed that he was a better fullback. But Jesse Kriel made a believer out of me in that France game. And I mean, I'm sure you guys all know that picture that I'm referring to, where it was taken of him, and it just looked like this man came out of a war, and really put his body on the line, and you could see it in his face. And much respect to you, Jesse. Yeah, you made a believer out of me that you deserved that jersey last week. I wasn't feeling it before that. I really thought that we should give Canan Moody a shot there. But I mean, I still believe that we need to give Canan Moody a shot at 13. But of course, that's a player for the future. And maybe have Jesse Kriel see this one out, and have Canan Moody have that experience when he goes into the next cycle of the World Cup. So, which is great. And then, of course, you've got your Kurtley Arendse, who also played a cracker of a game last week. I mean, that try that he scored, it was just a beautiful try, right? Damian Willemse, I think majority of the time he plays, he's like the best rugby at fullback for South Africa at the moment. So, and then of course your 16, 17 and 18 jerseys, your front row replacements, Deon Fourie, Oxenche, Vincent Koch. Personally, I would maybe have gone with, not with Vincent Koch, but maybe Trevor Nyakani, but I mean, Vincent Koch is in that selection, and of course, Deon Fourie and Oxenche will be side him. And so Deon Fourie, of course, that very old man, just as old as I am, making his debut in this World Cup and really playing very good rugby. Had a man of the match performance a couple of games ago. I believe it was the game against Tonga, and of course he knows that we need to depend on him on that hooker replacement. I do think that, if I recall correctly, he came on as a flanker last week, so he might actually be the same, but covering both options. Then, of course, RG Snyman being your lock replacement, really good player. Kwagga Smith, man, like that guy's just a beast in every game that he plays. I'm so happy that he's there. He always have to be there. He has to be there every single game, just my opinion, right? And that guy has probably put on double his own body weight since he left. Even since he left, I think like the Lions. So yeah, he's just like become this big muscle man that just like rips balls in every tackle and every ball that's on the ground. He just steals. This guy's just fantastic. I really enjoy his gameplay. Then of course your 21-22 combo, your scrum half and fly half replacements in Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard. Of course, I do imagine that the Springboks gameplay will be put England under the pump by scoring tries early, and then of course having these two guys come onto the field and just kicking into that corner and kicking for post and just rounding off that game. And then of course your number 23 jersey, Villiers Leroux, which I really don't think had a very good game last week. In fact, it's been a couple of games that he seemed to be struggling a little bit. I really hope he can pull it together for this one once he does come onto the field. And yeah, man, that is actually your Springbok versus England team selection. I hope all of you guys can tell me in the comments, what is your prediction for this game? What type of score are you going for? I need something for my Super Brew, so I of course need to pick your guys' brains. I do think that the Springboks probably about between 20 and 25 points, comfortable win. That's just my prediction, just based on 2019 form and how good the British were, or the English were, and of course they played their best game against New Zealand in that World Cup. But yes, we did manage to beat them on that game in about 20 points. So I do believe it could be another 20 to 25 points difference, especially with where the Springboks are and with where the English are in terms of their current state of affairs. And then, yeah, tell me what you guys think in terms of your prediction of the actual New Zealand game versus Argentina. I do think, I've read some things where people said, it's going to be a much closer game. It's going to probably be one score away or something to that effect. I think actually New Zealand's got it in them to make quite a big scoring game. That, all right, they really got the backs for it, and of course they got Frizzell back, and all these guys. And whereas when you consider the Argentina, really they do have a pacey backline, but really their strength is in their forwards. And yes, New Zealand might have been lacking that a little bit of late. But look, I mean, last week's game against Ireland, they really proved their worth in terms of their defense. I mean, 30-something odd phases, defense. So yeah, I really think that New Zealand's got it in them to really upset the Aussies with quite a considerable score. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching this video. Please press that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the reaction video to this game. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Have a fantastic evening. Be blessed and good night.